Democratic incumbent Senator Chris Murphy will be returning to the Senate for another term. NBC News can also make a projection in the Senate race in Tennessee, where incumbent Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn will be returning to the United States Senate. The standing in the United States Senate: 32 Democratic-held seats, 42 Republican-held seats. That reflects the Republicans picking up one seat. They picked up a seat in West Virginia, the seat currently held by now independent, previously Joe Manchin. We've also got to look, interestingly, at the Indiana governor's race. This was one to watch. I said earlier, NBC News can now project that the Republican candidate for governor in Indiana has prevailed over the Democratic candidate. This is Mike Braun, the U.S. senator who decided not to run for re-election in the Senate, to instead run for that governorship in Indiana. From the Democrat there, although the Democrat hasn't held the governorship in Indiana in 20 years, so a bit of a big upset. It is the Republican, Mike Braun, who will hold that seat. What measures now? This is interesting. In Florida, one of the statewide ballot measures in Florida was an amendment number 3 that legalized marijuana. That is now projected to fail. So legalization of marijuana will fail in Florida. It has to pass by 60%. So even though there is a 55% margin in favor, that is short of the 60% margin that is needed to pass this amendment. And now looking at the very, very important and very closely watched abortion rights measure on the ballot in Florida. Again, you need 60% to pass. There's no projection as to what the result is going to be for this Florida abortion rights measure. But the yes vote right now, with 82% in at 57, that is a strong vote in favor of this abortion rights amendment in Florida. But 57 is shy of the 60% to get that measure passed. Been a lot of controversy in Florida, particularly over that one, as Governor Ron DeSantis, the Republican governor there, has used the state government, has used state agencies, including state law enforcement, to try to tip the balance in those races, sending state police to people's houses because they signed the petition to get the abortion rights amendment on the ballot, sending threatening letters to Florida television stations, threatening them with prosecution for airing ads in support of that abortion rights measure. So we'll see how that comes up.
Ron DeSantis has put everything on trying to ensure that Florida will buck the trend of every other state, including red states, that have passed the right to bodily autonomy. He's put everything on it, including, as you said, threats, whatever it takes to try to make sure that that amendment fails, using the power of government in a way that is, I would say, openly fascist and determined and very determined. Because, of course, this is something that he wants to be his signature thing. It's a thing he passed thinking that it would allow him to defeat Donald Trump and move to his right and make him a national star and potentially the heir to Donald Trump in the party. But I want to really quickly talk about the other amendment, the marijuana amendment, which I think a lot of people assumed would pass. A good friend down there that is in politics in the state of Florida. The advertising against the marijuana amendment was really based on the fact that it would empower two very large marijuana companies that are not small businesses. They are two of the biggest companies that are in the national game in terms of legalized weed. And so this was pushed on the people who are the no side, really did push a campaign saying this is not a way to legalize marijuana for like the everyday individual person. It would be empowering two big companies. So there was a really strong pushback against it.
And DeSantis also very strongly pushing, just as he's pushing against the abortion amendment, also pushing on that one. Actually, let me just interject because we have a poll closing while we have been talking here. 8:30 p.m. Eastern, polls closed in the great state of Arkansas, and at poll closing, NBC News can project that the winner of the presidential contest in Arkansas will be Donald Trump. Stephanie Roll.
Floridians for Freedom is the group that worked to get this abortion measure on the ballot. In the last week alone, they have had to upgrade, they've had to get bigger office space because they've had so many more volunteers. In the last 48 hours, they did a last-minute fundraise because people came and said, we want more yard signs. And when I heard from one of their backers, I said, why do they need more yard signs with 24 hours to go? And he said, it's not about the signs. It's about that they are getting this kind of demand land in the last week. And what's interesting, they got a whole slew of new volunteers right after Donald Trump's speech at Madison Square Garden. Puerto Rican women in the Orlando area said, we're about to mobilize, we're going to call our network. That's all in the last week and a half. So they might only be at 57%, but 60% isn't that far away, and they have got some sale.
We should also just note, I mean, they tried, the Republican opponents of abortion rights in Ohio try to maneuver this last summer where they tried to raise the threshold in another vote to get it to 60% because they knew they would lose if it was 50%. They lost that, then they lost at the ballot box. If they lose 57, 58, 59, somewhere around there, it still means that in a state that Donald Trump is going to carry by quite a bit and a state that's been moving to the right, a strong majority, I mean, a 14-point majority, a 13-point majority, something like that, for abortion rights in a state in which the Republican governor was campaigning against it. That 60% threshold is part of Florida law. It's not like a funny game they played, but what it means about public opinion is true whether or not it gets over the line. Of course, it matters greatly to the women and families in Florida. We should also just note, I mean, that Donald Trump is going to carry by quite
a presidential race in Delaware. There's a winner of the presidential race in Delaware. The winner is Democratic candidate Vice President Kamala Harris. Nicole, you're going to jump in there.
I mean, I think we're going to be watching these dynamics, and they're not going to fall the way that we receive data, right? I mean, the story that we've all been covering, the thing we've been talking about, the 7 acres we're getting at, is really at its core a gender gap on the issue of bodily autonomy. And I think that is not, that those are the things you're getting in your ear, right? The calls you have to make, you're not getting a call in the gender gap. And I think
that's all in the last week and a half. So they might only be at 57%.
And I think it's going to mean that some of the people that used to be Republicans are now independents. We're going to be putting people in categories all the time, and we're not going to know the results of some of the, because to your point, a state that Trump won handily has 57, perhaps maybe the its voters, men and women, young and old, who support abortion rights.
Let me jump in here with another call. In the state of Delaware, we just had a presidential call in the state of Delaware. But NBC News can now project the Senate race in Delaware. This is an open seat, the seat that had been held by Democrat Tom Carper. It's Republican Eric Hansen versus Democrat Lisa Blunt Rochester. NBC News can project that the Senate seat in Delaware will go to Lisa Blunt Rochester. NBC News can also make a projection in Delaware in the governor's race. Governor's race in Delaware goes to the Democratic candidate there, Matt Meyer. So Delaware with the presidential race, the Senate race, and the governor's race all going blue.
And can I just throw in that this also, the abortion question in Florida also has impacts across the entire Southeast. Because Florida was the one place that people who were in the South could go to for reproductive care, right? And now all eyes turn back to North Carolina, which will have a Democratic governor, will retain a Democratic governor. It'll be interesting to see if Republicans lose their supermajority, which they have by one seat because one Democrat switched sides and gave them a supermajority. If they lose that supermajority, watch for North Carolina to try to reestablish the right to abortion. And then that will leave one other place, because right now, women in the South have to drive all the way to Maryland or Virginia. And so there's a real issue of women who potentially could lose their lives and are extremely ill because the whole South has become an abortion wasteland.
Lawrence, as you've been watching these couple of hours of results.
Cuma bisa tanjutan me prepara. Kona pare na baso ni kan gum pare no ler kono. Yo woleo garwalo kan samjona yo kota par bola kada lag den. Cuma bisa
अच्छा ये क्या हुआ फिर मैंने उसे भी जाने दिया जिसके जाने से मेरी जान जाती थी कितना बेचैन हो
why don't we just give you a sense here over the next couple hours as Pennsylvania starts to take shape, what we're going to be looking at, because this could be absolutely critical, obviously, when we start talking about road to 270 scenarios. So, first of all, for Democrats in Philadelphia, it's just a question of margin. Harris is going to win this very big, but let me just show you what happened in 2020. This is what it looked like, and this was a margin for Democrats. You could see Biden 603,000, Trump 132,000. That is a margin of about 470,000 votes for Democrats out of Philadelphia. I think one of the numbers to keep an eye on as Philadelphia and Pennsylvania comes in is, does that get up to, if that got to 500,000, maybe set that as a bit of a benchmark here. If Democrats can get that up to 500,000, I think they're going to be feeling very good about what they can do in Pennsylvania. Can they drive that number up? Because, while this is a big number for Democrats, this 81-18 victory for Biden over Trump, there was a little bit of slippage there. This is just the city of Philadelphia. A little bit of slippage there for Democrats, given relative to what they used to get out of Philadelphia. It's because in 2020, in part, Trump made gains with Hispanic voters in Hispanic precincts and neighborhoods of Philadelphia. So that's one of the things to watch tonight. Democrats are getting a big margin, but how big? Is it going north of 470? Is it getting up to 5? Or does this tick down another point or two in either direction here? So we're going to be looking at that in Philadelphia. The other big thing, look, the collar counties of Philadelphia, these four right here. It's Delaware County, Chester County, Montgomery County, and Bucks County. Take them in almost two sections here. Take these three together. Delaware County, where we do have a little bit of vote, I can show you right now. Core Democratic county. This is a little bit more racially diverse. You see Biden won this by 26 points. It's just about running up the number for Democrats in Delaware County, as is the case in Chester County. Now, Chester County, again, fits that profile we talk about. High concentration of college degrees, higher income. There's no county in Pennsylvania in the Trump era that has become more Democratic to the degree that Chester County has. So as you start to look at the results come in here tonight, it'll be a while. See what Biden got here, 58%. Maybe set a benchmark in your head of 60%. Can Harris break 60% in Chester? Because what's happening in Pennsylvania, and this is going to be a theme in the two other northern tier battleground states, what's happening in Pennsylvania is the Democratic base is geographically contracting. Trump came along in 2016 and started to run up massive margins in rural areas of the state, rural blue-collar areas of the state. And what's happened is the Democratic base has become more geographically concentrated into cities and metro areas. Again, suburbs, places, as I say, I keep saying it, but it's what the stats show. High concentrations of college degrees. So what the Democrats increasingly need to do is just focus on running up margins in those places that offset the Trump gains elsewhere in the state. So that's what these three counties are all about. Bucks is a big one, about 450,000 people here. It's a little bit different. This is a true swing county here. How this one goes tonight could tell us a lot about how the state is going. It's just, it's more blue collar than these other collar counties. So we're going to be watching there. South Central, Pennsylvania, sort of this region in here, Harrisburg, Lancaster, York. This is actually an area. There are some Republican counties in here, but this is an area where Trump had some slippage. Cumberland County. This is an area in 2020, a potential area of growth here for Democrats. We're going to keep an eye on this region. Western Pennsylvania. You see a lot of blue here again because it's vote by mail. These are almost all going to be red tonight. And this is, when I say Trump has been running up the score, these are the counties where he gets 65, 70, 75% of the all in this part of the state. And I think where the game may be won or lost in Pennsylvania is going to be northeast Pennsylvania. I think we showed you at the start of the night, but I'll go back to it again. We'll be paying a lot of attention to Lackawanna County, and we've got about a quarter of the vote in here. Again, this is the vote by mail. But here's the story in Lackawanna County where the city of Scranton is. This was pre-Trump a big Democratic bastion. Trump, look at that. He almost won this in 2016. What a shift. Democrats actually jumped up to close to a 10-point win here in 2020. Was that because Joe Biden and Scranton ties? Was that because of something else, changing attitudes towards Trump perhaps? Big question here. There's a lot of counties like this in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. Big question here is, can Trump get this back to 2016 levels, or really can he win his county. That's what he wants to be doing. And there's also a lot of these counties in this sort of stretch of the state right here. You've got a lot of counties with substantial Hispanic populations. That's the other thing that the Trump campaign has been talking about. Berks is where the city of Reading is. Reading is about 2/3 Hispanic, largest concentration of Hispanic voters anywhere in the state. Trump he lost the city of Reading. He made gains there in 2020. He made gains in a lot of these small, mid-sized cities in Pennsylvania, sort of this part of the state right here, that have substantial Hispanic populations. His campaign is betting a lot on that being a trend that continues this election, and there being improvement for Trump in those small, mid-sized cities and the counties around them. So we're going to be paying attention to that as it comes in. So again, Democrats just need to get massive margins out of Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the suburbs right around them. And Trump needs to get back to his 2016 levels in the blue-collar parts of the state. Again, it's pretty much just vote by mail that you're seeing there in Pennsylvania. You're seeing there in Pennsylvania. But as this takes shape, that's what we're going to be looking for. And just take a quick look back here at Georgia. We've been monitoring everything. I will tell you this. One thing I've been looking at, and this is the clearest thing yet in terms of completed counties, you're always looking to see when you have all the vote in a county and you compare it to the last election and you say, is there a trend? So one of the things, like 3 or 4 of these categories we're looking at, but one of them we've said is the rural counties in Georgia, the heavily Republican rural counties, and it's very consistent. We now have 15, maybe 20 of them that are basically complete right now. Very small, but in just about all of them, Trump is running a point to 3 points better than he did in 2020. And that was one of our questions in Georgia. Is Trump going to slip a couple of potentially critical points in his core parts of the state? So we are not seeing that there. But there's a lot more, obviously, we're going to be looking for as Georgia continues to come in.
All right, as we continue to watch that vote come in, as Steve continues to parse those results, we're looking ahead toward 9 o'clock Eastern time. Just a few minutes from now, polls are going to be closing in a wave of crucial and interesting states. We're going to have poll closings in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Michigan, and more. We're going to get to all of it. Stay with us.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Thanks to Skyrizi, I'm playing with clearer skin. 3 out of 4 people achieve 9% clear skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, have a vaccine, or plan to.
With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin meets everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Take a breath of fresh air with the Stanley Steamer Air Duct Cleaner. We clean over 10 million feet of air ducts each year with our specialized trucks, built by us, removing the contaminants from your home. Your air ducts aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Moments make up the story of your life. But as you get older, you can miss them because of severe flu, COVID-19, or RSV. So get vaccinated, because your presence makes all the difference.
Every once in a while, who runs this valley. Trying to remind them.
The only thing you have to do is kill as much as you can before they kill you.